What's up? It's your boy Mini Frank back with another video. As you can see, there's Fortnite in the background, but that's not the focus of this video. So after that Death of Superman movie review, it had me thinking, what are my top 5 favorite DC animated films? So I compiled my list and I'm going to share it with you guys. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So my number 5 film definitely has to be Death of Superman. Now, Justice League War was in this number 5 spot. And then after watching Death of Superman again, I had to put Death of Superman above Justice League War, and it hurt my heart because Justice League War holds a special place in my heart. But I literally enjoyed Death of Superman more than Justice League War, so I had to put it at 5. Now, for those who haven't seen Justice League War, look, there I go. For those who haven't seen Death of Superman or haven't seen my review on Death of Superman and need the rundown on the story, I'll give you a quick rundown. So, long story short, everybody's chilling, the Justice League riding around and getting it, and a meteor's heading towards Earth, and lo and behold, it happens to be Doomsday, and literally the only person that can stop Doomsday is Superman, and spoiler alert, Superman dies. It's in the title of the movie, but for people that didn't know, Superman dies. So why did this movie make my number 5, well, my top 5, and being number 5, favorite DC animated film? Doomsday. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record if you see my Death of Superman movie, but Doomsday, like, he made that movie so much more enjoyable just because of the damage he was doing. I mean, like I said, the ending fight between him and Superman was just, it was hard to watch because Superman, at first I thought he was going to be able to hang with him, and boy was I wrong. Superman wasn't really able to hang with Doomsday, and Superman's my favorite superhero that DC has, but I kind of enjoyed him getting punched on. But besides that, I think they did a really good job of still portraying Superman, like, even in this really big fight, in this very a very critical moment, he still was that Boy Scout. He was still saving everybody and making sure all the civilians were okay in the midst of the fight, even though he was getting his tail whooped. And I think that that's what really put Death of Superman in my top 5. Well, my number 5. My number 4 film definitely has to be Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay. Now, if you see my Death of Superman, excuse me, movie review, then you know at the end I kind of mention it and how it was a great movie. So now I'm about to tell you why it's my favorite. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of the plot. Amanda Waller calls Task Force X to retrieve a black card that's basically a get out of hell free card. So if you die, you automatically bypass hell and you can go to heaven. It's lit, low key, well, high key, and we all know that Amanda Waller needs it because she's literally the devil himself. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. For number 1, this is the Suicide Squad movie that we all deserve. From start to finish, this is Suicide Squad. From the action to the characters to the team chemistry, or the team chemistry, and even the other villains that they face in this movie, this is a Suicide Squad movie. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I suggest you seen it. Suggest you seen it. Wow, look how I'm talking. I suggest you see it. That opening sequence on the train sets the tone for the rest of the movie. The violence, the quick jokes, the one-liners, it's all great. Another thing that this movie does that I really enjoy is that they take characters that we don't see too often in the front line or in any kind of movie and make you enjoy those characters so much. The team in this movie consists of Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, Harley, the main 3, who I consider the main 3 members who are in every version of the Suicide Squad. And then they add Killer Frost, who's there sometimes, but then they add Copperhead and Bronze Tiger. Copperhead did not have many lines in that movie, but when he did, he was funny, and I like that. He was like a freak, but he was funny, and I really enjoyed that. He didn't, like I said, he didn't say much, but when they did show him, it was funny, and it kind of like, it didn't take away from the seriousness that was going on in the movie at some points. Also, the character that stole the show, in my opinion, is definitely Bronze Tiger. Now, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I've haven't heard of this character before ever. Like, I know he appeared in Arrow, I believe, but I don't watch Arrow, so there you go. This is my first real introduction into this character, and man, did I tell you they got me hooked on this character when they put him in this movie. Honestly, all the best action sequences in this movie that had Bronze Tiger in it were the best action sequences of the movie. Like, from his fighting was through the roof, through the roof. I mean, and they animated it so beautifully. I mean, he was throwing hands with whoever came in his path, and he was on a mission, regardless if it was right or wrong. He was on a mission to redeem himself. And on top of Bronze Tiger having the best action sequences, he also has the best characterization out of everybody in the movie. And from the beginning, when we see him, he kind of just doesn't want to be there. He's really standoffish. He's only there because Amanda Waller asked him to be there. He doesn't really get along with Deadshot, to the end where we see that he actually, I'm gonna say, doesn't want to be there, but he doesn't mind being with those guys after what they went through and just the different character interactions that they had throughout the movie. You see that he kind of came around. My number 3 film definitely has to go to Flashpoint Paradox. Now, if you have not seen this film, it is about when Barry Allen, the Flash, goes back in time and saves his mother, and in doing so, it completely changes the timeline that he lives in. From him not being the Flash to even Bruce Wayne being the one that actually dies in the alleyway, and Thomas Wayne becoming Batman, and his mom becoming the Joker. That's a crazy plot twist, but that's the rundown of the basic plot of the movie. Now, this movie is in my top 5 for one name and one name only. Eobard Thawne. He, from start to finish, he was my favorite part of the movie. Not only did he pose a physical threat to Barry, but the psychological threat he posed to Barry was something serious. I mean, the mind games that he was playing with Barry was through the roof. Like I said, start to finish, Eobard Thawne was a threat to Barry. And like I said, it wasn't just physical. Even in the opening act, when Thawne gets captured and he's getting sent off to prison and Barry's walking away, and you would think, okay, Barry just saved the day. He wouldn't have anything, like, Eobard really can't do anything to get at him because he's going to jail. But he says something to Barry about changing the past, and Barry kind of like freezes and kind of like looks in shock. And Batman has to come up to Barry like, look, man, he's a psychopath. You know, they have to do certain things. They like to do this. They like to get under your skin. And Barry's like, oh no, it's fine. I don't have to. I'll just run it off. But in reality, that really stuck with Barry. And that's what I like about Eobard. Throughout the movie, he just played these little mind games with Barry that made him he almost made Barry question himself, as in, how selfish are you, Barry? Like, for you to go back in time and to save your mom, and for all this to happen, and for all these mishaps to be going on because you want to be selfish. Do you really deserve to be the Flash? And that's what I really enjoyed. And there was one line in particular or one scene where Eobard even says, he's like, you didn't go back in time and make sure Adolf Hitler stayed in art school, or you didn't prevent the assassination of JFK. No, you saved your mom, and look at this. Look at all this. And the thing is, Eobard is so twisted. Like, he was getting a kick out of this, and that's what he was saying, all of this with a smile on his face. And that's another thing, he was just really twisted. And to go back on that scene, Barry even goes like, listen, what are you doing? Why would you let me do this? Because you're gonna die too. And Eobard's like, so why not? I want to see you fail. And I was like, yo, this man Eobard is twisted. But I loved every second of it. And also, outside of Eobard, the movie as a whole, it was just so savage. I mean, from Wonder Woman just doing her thing. It's like I said, it's in an alternate timeline, so she was killing any and everybody. Everybody was honestly dying. If it wasn't from her, it was from something else. It was just death everywhere, and I really enjoyed that movie. For number 2 on my top 5 list, it has to go to Justice League Doom. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, let me give you a quick rundown. It is where Vandal Savage steals all of Batman's contingency plans to get rid of the Justice League, but he takes them and amplifies them to 1,000 to get rid of them so he can create a new world order. The reason that I like this movie so much is, it, to me, not physically but psychologically, it was Batman against the Justice League, and just how they think versus how he thinks, and how forward thinking and strategic he is. Because once the team finds out that Vandal Savage is using Batman's plans that he actually had to get rid of them all, they get upset. But one member that isn't really too upset is GL, and he's like, I don't know, guys. What if we do need these? Like, how do we not know if this will ever happen? And everybody's like, oh, everybody gets up in arms and like, no, why would he even do this? We don't need this. Da 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 da. And Batman's like, look, if y'all don't see the need for these plans, I don't need to be in Justice League. And everybody just kind of stops. And I was like, sheesh. For Batman to be a human and to have that much clout within the Justice League is ridiculous. But I think he posed a really good point, and he forced them to think further than just the old, like, Superman, I'm just a Boy Scout, or Wonder Woman, I fight for what's good and I want to destroy evil. He made them think and challenge themselves, like, what if this happened? Maybe he is right. Is the actual contingency plans that Batman had to get rid of each Justice League. Like, Superman is kryptonite, that's understandable, but to Flash, I guess, spoiler warning if you haven't seen it, for Flash to have a wrist bomb, a bomb that goes through his wrist, and for him to not be able to stop moving, and we actually for the first time get to see the Flash get worn out as he keeps running and running. Because I would think, as somebody that reads comics, will see the Flash, like, he doesn't get tired, his power is super speed, but his body gets fatigued and he gets slower, and I thought that was cool. Also with Martian Manhunter, we all know it's fire, but in the way in which they did it, where he slipped it in the drink and he couldn't taste it, oh man. And Wonder Woman, another example, I never would have thought that the way to kill Wonder Woman was to tire her out. One thing I did find interesting about the movie is that the Legion of Doom's plan to neutralize Batman, I guess, was sick but also effective in my opinion. Just like looking at it and watching Batman's reactions to how they handled it, was they buried him alive where his parents bodies were. So to see his face when he turns over and sees either his mom or his dad's skeleton laying right next to him, he looks horrified. And I've honestly never seen Batman look so horrified, and a good spin on how we see Batman. Like, he's this I'm not gonna say all knowing like he's God, but he knows enough to get rid of all these people, all these powerful metahumans, but the simple act of burying him alive in his parents' caskets or next to his parents will completely mess Batman up. And you see it because he was kind of freaking out. He comes out of the coffin and goes into the Batcave, and Alfred's like, what's going on? Where have you been? And he's like, leave me alone. Like, I gotta figure this out. And I was like, Batman, are you tilted right now? Like, did they just tilt you by burying you alive? I just thought it was a great new look at Batman, and seeing how that kind of put a battery in his back to help the rest of the Justice League members. Now, before we get to my number one movie, I thought I should throw in a couple honorable mentions, just because I thought these movies I like these movies, but they didn't make my top 5. One of them being Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Now, I honestly think this movie is kind of slept on, and I thought it was very enjoyable. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's a spin on the Jack the Ripper tale, where Batman is trying to find out who is killing all these women. Come to find out it's Jack the Ripper, but he's trying to figure out who he is and what are his motives. And throughout the movie, Batman is just like, Jack the Ripper is putting up an actual fight with Batman, and then at the end, when they tell you the actual plot twist of who Jack the Ripper is, man, I did not see that coming. I had theories from when the opening act, and I was completely off base with each and every one of them. And another honorable mention that I want to throw out there is Justice League Gods and Monsters. Now, if you haven't seen Gods and Monsters, it takes place in an alternate universe where Superman is the son of Zod. Batman's an actual vampire, and Wonder Woman is kind of like a new god refugee, I guess I want to say, just off the fact that she was supposed to marry a new god, but then a whole bunch of stuff went down and she came to Earth to kind of like help. But I think that I really enjoyed that movie. I think I enjoyed it because it was more of a grittier take on the Justice League. They were actually killing people and they kind of had authority. I'm not gonna say over the government, but they weren't a pushover to the government. Like when the government said something, they just weren't like, "All right, boss, I'll go get it. I'll get right on that." They're kind of just like, "No, we're not doing it. Oh, you gonna pay me?" And like they were actually killing people. I thought that it was a really good spin on the Justice League, and I think that you all should check it out. And my number one DC animated film of all time has to be The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. If you haven't seen The Dark Knight Returns Part 2, stop this video right now. Honestly, if you haven't seen Part 1 or Part 2 or even read the story by Frank Miller, I was about to call him Frank Morrison, by Frank Miller, stop this video right now and go do that. My feelings would not be hurt if you did that. I'm so serious. For those who don't know the story or the basic storyline that Frank Miller wrote, it's basically we see an older retired Batman who basically has to come out of retirement because of the things that are going on around in Gotham and in the world. And this part specifically, oh my goodness, specifically, we see him deal with Joker and the good old question, who would win in the fight, Batman or Superman? One of one of the main reasons why I enjoy this film is a is because of the animation. They did not just take the story and completely change the character designs. It's basically they took Frank Miller's pages, threw them on a movie on a screen, and they started moving. The animation style is so close to the original artwork, and I love it. I don't think you could do that with every DC movie, but this was the appropriate movie to do that for, and I really applaud them for doing that because it was really dope. Another reason why I really like this movie, the main reason why I like this movie so much, I should say, is how Batman finally deals with the Joker. Now, me, I'm not a big Batman fan. Like, I'm not gonna say that I'm not a big Batman fan, but what I'm gonna say is he's not my favorite hero. Now, for me, as I was saying, I always wonder why didn't Batman just kill Joker and get it out the way? Like, I understand you don't want to kill anybody, but in at the same time, Joker is out here catching bodies, and you low key are the reason why this is happening. You don't want to kill Joker, and in turn, you're killing a bunch of other people because of your low key selfish decision. And I think that this movie does a really good job of Batman finally, finally answering that question. Oh my goodness, can I get it out? Or dealing with that question that I had. That tunnel of love scene in The Dark Knight Returns 2 is so iconic in my opinion, opinion. Excuse me. It's late. But in my opinion, because Batman finally just says enough with the Joker. I mean, from the start where Joker's running in, they're at a carnival and Joker's running in, capping random civilians and laughing and giggling and just pushing people out the way, and Batman's chasing after him, and then when he finally catches up with him, he just goes, "Enough! I can't do this anymore." And he says something along the lines of, "All the innocent people I let die," or I think he even says, "killed by letting you live. I can't let that happen anymore." And he's fighting, and he has Joker by the neck, and he just twisted, and I'm like, yes, Batman, finally. And then at the same time, Joker's like on the ground, basically paralyzed and can't move, and he's telling Batman, he's like, I did it, I won, I finally pushed you far enough to your breaking point. And that's one thing that I found interesting about that scene, is because yes, at at the end of the day, Batman did kill the Joker, but the Joker ultimately won because Batman vowed to never kill, and for the Joker to finally, in his retirement, basically, to get Batman to kill him is, I thought, was very, very interesting. Also, the iconic fight between him and Superman. Like, how could I not mention that? He just like he just lays the beat down on Superman, and he just starts talking heavy to him. He starts monologuing to him with his boot on his chest. He's like, "Look, remember who beat you. Remember who beat you, alien." And he just like, "All right, now I'm gonna fake my death and go dip off down here. But you gonna have to hold that L for the rest of your life. After I'm dead and gone, you still have to hold this L, Clark." And I was like, "Dad, Clark, you my man, but you really do." Like, it was just so methodical in the way he took him down, and Superman had no answer. Granted, he did have a kryptonite infused suit, but still, he just had no answer. And I thought that the way they ended it off, or the way, forget it, the way that Frank Miller ended off that whole Dark Knight Returns arc or story was just so genius. And for it to be animated just made it even better, in my opinion. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That's all for this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys later.